Hello, everyone. Welcome to GTM Expertise. I'm welcoming here David. Welcome, David. Thanks for taking the time.
Thank you, Ben. It's a pleasure. I'm really glad to be on.
No worries at all. That's great. So today we're going to talk a little bit about how to convert or how to think about relationships to revenue. And David has a lot of experience in orchestrating trust-based growth and dealing with relationships. So we'll get right into that. But before we do that, David, it'd be great to give the audience a little bit of an understanding of how you got to where you are today, what your journey's been like, but also what you're doing today. And I think it's super interesting. So I'd love to hear more about that.
Happy to. And everyone loves to talk about themselves at length. I will try to be as brief as I can because no one's life is that interesting. So the main thing, why is it this called orchestrated? Orchestrated connecting opportunities, my entire world. I'm a classical pianist and composer. Most people have never met a living classical composer. You only celebrate us when we're dead. And so I've spent my life knowing that I could succeed in infamy and after I'm long gone. So I decided I needed to build a different way that my world worked. So my, middle class upbringing in Northern Florida as a college professor's son who a mother ran nonprofits. I have now gotten to the likes of New York City, which has not eaten me alive after 25 years here. And the type of network that I run and the people and the relationships that I have built go to this type of world where I go, hey, like I just messaged my friend Asser, he and his wife Malala are doing X. Would you like to talk about it? My friend Candace, who is talking to me about raising small kids and now what she wants to do, was debating a decision around her sports career now that she's a retired Olympic gold medalist basketball star. And so I built the likes of what everyone would aspire to for how did you meet that person? But the difference is I built trust with those people as people to achieve a greater impact. So that's like the why of what I do, just to give a sense of like why if people listen to me and they want to find any value in it, Ben, the value is I have built relationships with the people seek to maybe get an autograph from or meet. Instead, I work with them. I hang out with them. I sit in a world where it's about the relationship, trust, and the value, not who you know, that you can just advertise to the stars. So my world, right, what my friends jokingly call this orchestrated empire, looks like this. I now run a private global network of people called connectors or super connectors. It's the only one on the planet because everyone who runs a network doesn't have a network for them. So I built a network of networks to solve one problem. Relationship value is not valued anywhere to the extent to which it should be. And by supporting connectors in an extraordinarily stupid business model, no membership fees, no sponsorship for events done at cost. My network's in 187 cities and 35 countries. I do about 50 events a year from the UK and Canada, all throughout the United States. All of this towards a goal of getting out of the way so the right people can meet each other to accelerate what they're doing. So especially for your audience, a large amount of my network are family offices and next gens and venture and private equity and hedge fund and angel and all the rest. A lot are current founders or exited founders. But all of them come in to ask for what they need as opposed to just give support for each other. And that's a difference in the way I structured this. I now have a USA Today best-selling book called Orchestrating Connection. I'm launching my own startup called Soar Connect in several months. It's a ecosystem relationship tech meant to solve that connector systemization technological problem. Fancy way of saying the same thing. How do I, as I engage with you, figure out who you're supposed to meet or interview next that's not me? With that, I also have a conference working towards an annual retreat, the aforementioned events, and an endless barrage of more people coming in to say, I'm a connector, I'm a super connector. I didn't know this existed. How come my 45 friends in common with you didn't tell me? And the answer is, well, they didn't know that you needed it. They didn't know you were ready. And the final thing I'll say, because I promised everyone I'd be succinct, but I do a lot of things, is that unless you're somebody I would leave my children with, this isn't the network for you. That's the bar. High integrity. When you have high integrity, you have high trust based on action. Everyone can orchestrate their life this way. And that's a lot of what the book I wrote with my co-author Noah Askin digs into. The principles, the practices to build a purposeful community and a network, not for when you need it, but before you need it.
Right. That's brilliant, David. Thank you for the intro. Huge amount to unpack. And one thing that we've come across a lot of is the depth of trust that you're trying to build with a community, whether that's the community you're selling to or a partnership community or an ecosystem or whatever it is. And I think the word trust is a huge element. I love your bar raiser of like, if you can leave your kids with them, then they've got to be trustworthy. I think many times a lot of people have a network, but they're not nearly as engaged as it sounds like your community is. And so I think that's really interesting. How would you focus on someone who's looking, who's perhaps a little bit unsure of how to convert or to leverage their existing network and grow it further? So I'm a tech founder. I've got a base, whether it's professional and friends or both. If you were them, if you were in their shoes, what are the things that they should be doing to at least build a trust-based network before they even start thinking about how to turn that into revenue?
So there's a couple different things that people often fail to realize until it's too late. Number one is the way we act to others is not the way we would want people to act to us. So if you're working to scale something to build it and you just meet somebody, they didn't ask you to pitch them or tell them what you're doing. They asked who you are.
Yeah.
And the more that you turn that around to ask who they are and gain insight and build trust through that, the easier it is to understand that the net worth of your network is the relationships they have, not just the end result of talking to them. Because none of us want to be talked through. People learn who I've worked with in the family office space or the rest, or they read my book and they see people I quote in it. And they, people come up to me and they want to meet the person that I know, but they don't want to know me first.
Right.
Would any of us want to be talked through?
Right.
No.
Yeah.
Yet when we need something, like I have to raise capital in the next 9 months or else for my startup, we act as if that's okay because our need is greater than somebody else's.
Yeah.
So the pause for that and the way to reflect on it is everyone you grew up with, everyone you went to school with, everyone that you interact with in your job, whatever it might be, these are all opportunities to deepen trust through a very specific thing, which somehow people fail to do when they meet other people, which is express curiosity in somebody else without an agenda of your own. To have empathy, to demonstrate vulnerability, things that in business school they don't really teach. Yet I, for the last 6 months, have been dealing with an ailing father who's since passed this December. And I have made that a topic of conversation after a family office conference. Right. I have sat with people who ask me how I'm doing. And I say, my dad died last week. And the people who pause and they go, I lost my mom 4 years ago. It still feels like yesterday. I build a bond with them. And they happen to also be now an investor in my startup. Right. And the person who doesn't answer that because you're so focused on what you need above somebody else's, you just wasted time, not just your time, but the other person's time. So we have to requalify what building a relationship is worth. And it's worth everything you don't know until you gain the one thing that everything in marketing, AI, everything Facebook does. They're trying to study what you want and what you need. When you build a relationship with trust, Ben, the person tells you because you had enough curiosity to ask them.
Yes.
So that's founding layer for people to work and start to think about.
I really like that. I think with the sort of pressure of let's take another scene like a conference or an exhibition, and these folks are rocking up, and in their mind, what they're trying to do is gain leads. Let's just make it simple for them. They're trying to think about that, right? But what I think you're trying to put forward, and I try to agree with, is you kind of need to put all of that in the back of the mind, because if you present yourself as someone who's just trying to gain leads, you're not going to gain any trust. First of all, the other person's going to close up most likely, right? If you're immediately trying to execute what your agenda is rather than what their agenda is. I have been to conferences and exhibitions where the person that I remember most after the conference or exhibition is the person who didn't talk about their business at all.
So let's think about this right in a funny way, right? Let's say you and I go to a tech conference together with a bunch of early stage and exited founders, and I go, hey, this is Ben. He's a lead for my startup to convert.
Right.
This is Ben. He follows me on Instagram. This is Ben. We're LinkedIn friends. Like those are so meaningless, and yet that's the data that gets collected in all these CRMs and all the rest. Yeah. If I say, hey, this is Ben. He's a connector. I wrote him out of the blind, and he took the opportunity to interview me on his podcast.
Mm.
We got along from that. I've introduced him to a few people. He's introducing me to one person that might invest in my next round. He's a really great stand-up guy. Would you like to? They've already left me and they're just talking to you.
Yeah, right.
That's what we want to be described to ourselves. Why do we think that when we look in the mirror, somebody wants a different way for it to be?
Yeah. How do you, I'm going to just follow on from that with, because I've always thought about this, how people would that's an opportunity where I can see how someone might refer to me in that situation. But often a lot of introductions are done in the blind, right? Or like are done where you don't see how you're getting introduced. And I've always wondered, like my network, which is sizable, reasonable, like if I ask them for an introduction, first thing I would do is go and check with that person if they're even interested in an introduction, if to your point, right? But even then, I don't know how I'm being described. I suppose you're at the top of the conversation. You were talking about how you want to be introduced, right? And even this, I don't want to be just this guy I met in a bar or just a pub. Like there's no, or a lead for my startup. How do you generate a relationship in your view that allows someone to do that introduction? Because it's also on the other side. It's not you. You could be acting really well, but the connector might not be a great connector. It might be a bad introducer. How do you think?
If somebody were to ever say to me, hey, I met this guy, David, in a bar. He's a cool guy. That'd be the first time anyone ever met me in a bar or said I was cool. Okay. Right? Like, that's just not my world. Like, people sit at a bar with me and tell me their life story and about like ailing parents or stuff. And then I build a bond. I've just never had that. Yeah. So the point is you can orchestrate all of it.
Right.
The goal, right? The singular goal. And I say this with all respect to everyone who's gone to MIT or Harvard or Kellogg or anything else is, if your mother was talking to my mother about what we both do, could we have given them enough of this concise phrasing and wording, systemize their thinking for them to say it to each other? That was my philosophy when I ran a global arts philanthropy and I had to fundraise for a living. Could somebody describe you without you there? So my journey, right? Like people started calling me like this ultimate connector, meta connector. Like I hated meta connector. It was so pretentious. Connector of connectors. Sure. And then I said, you know what? The way that I look at this is when you have a piece of music, you got a melody, you got some chords, which is the harmony. When you take the core of what you've built and you orchestrate it, you make it greater than yourself. So I'm going to call this that I orchestrate connections. People got that because I had my brand intact as a composer, a creative, who creates the resonance between people, the vibe, the energy. And it's supposed to be like, dude, David has a huge network. He makes a lot of intros. What people now say is David's built the system. He's one of the leading thought leaders around connection and relationship value, and especially trust. And once you hit something that you technically could describe anyone as, but I now get described as, that piques somebody's curiosity. Because honestly, if I'm standing at the bar and there's 5 other people at the bar, no one ever comes up to me. But then the person they talk to goes, you know what? I didn't realize you were an ex-NFL athlete. David knows a whole bunch of ex-players who have built great businesses. Go talk with him because I've demonstrated the value that people can describe. But that's through repeated action. You can only say it enough till people believe it because you have to have helped them or help somebody that they know. That's why I say always, this going back to that initial unpacking, if you do this right and you're curious with people and you're vulnerable, and the other point to make is the more diverse your network is, the better. Because we're in a network that's homogenous. Everything looks the same, tastes the same, is the same. When you ask somebody for what they need and then you help them with it, you build a bond that can last for a lifetime. Because how many people are asked for something that they need and then get help that they didn't ask for, that they didn't think they could get, or just the fact they felt heard? Because most of these conferences, no one feels heard. They just feel talked to.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. So one reflection I've had on connection and humans, especially as we step into 2026, one of the things that I think I wrote on someone's comment was, "What are you looking for more this year?" Is human. And I'm not going to be the only one commenting on the fact that a lot of connection and relationships I think we're stepping further away from it with some of the technology layers that are in place. I'm curious as to the technology that you're building for your startup, which helps to orchestrate some of that too. But like in this world of AI and kind of the reduction in the amount, well, increase in remote work too. That's a big one too, I think, in terms of removing those kind of water cooler moments that you'd have in the office. Just as less human connection. How do you view the benefit and use of that technology to better human engagement? Because I think we're going to need more of that in the future. And B, how do you see that sort of playing out in the next couple of years as AI takes hold even further?
So it's a complicated answer and also a very simple one, right? There is one commodity that we cannot change on this planet, no matter what we do, and that's time.
Yeah.
And whether things become more automated, more remote or not, we are still going to make each individual human deciding who we spend time with and who we don't. And so what I've built is a technology that studies how each of us spend our time through looking at times that you've emailed me back and forth, times that we've been on a phone call, on a WhatsApp, a text message, connecting on LinkedIn, a calendar entry for an hour, a follow-up one. So the idea was, if you can start to have understand how you spend time, it's augmenting the way you choose to put that commodity into play. And when you start to look at that at a high level, a pattern level, which again, I've studied for a decade doing this, so somebody could listen to this and copy it, but I got thousands of examples of what are valuable ways to look at how we each spend time.
Yeah.
All for one goal. When you can demonstrate who you spend the most time with and why, with a few exceptions, because I mean, I love the way she raises my kids, but there's a reason why my ex-wife is my ex-wife. But she's one of my top connections because the amount of time we spend back and forth supporting our children together and the time we used to spend together. But with few exceptions like that, it always goes down to how can technology augment what we do as opposed to replace us? Because that is the greatest concern. And technology might replace what we're doing. It will not replace how we spend our time. And this is the difference. So my company looks at this and it builds a whole portal of engagement that solves several problems that I do not understand why they haven't been solved. Why have we not found a way to securely automate and aggregate when we message people on WhatsApp, on LinkedIn, on Facebook, in message, we call them, we have a calendar, or we email, we have multiple emails. It's all sitting on our phone, yet nothing puts it in one place. I solved that. But I use this analogy, and for anyone who's a parent, they'll get this. It's the analogy from the book, If You Give a Mouse a Cookie. And the whole book is this book about you give a mouse a cookie, but then it wants milk, then it wants milk, it wants this other thing. And it's a cycle that eventually becomes like, Sisyphus pushing the rock up and back. You can never stop the cycle. So once you solve the problem of all the data in one place, you have to solve the problem of how you sort that data, what the tags are. So we built a CRM tagging system. But I didn't build a CRM. I built the reason you want all of that, which is somebody asks you something, you have to think in your head who's the right person, or you're trying to figure out an answer and you can't think because it's a long day, a bad day, you're sick, you're just tired. You can't think of everyone you should. If technology knows who you value your time with, combined with then where they might be relevant, and then the opposite of technology, I running this company, if you join Ben eventually, will never, ever see your data or who you know. You have to give me permission, but I need to create the layer that lets me know I should ask that permission or you should grant it. It makes it much more GDPR compliant because that's an important part of making this world better is not going, sure, I'll give you all my data, give me enough value back. Our thought was give you enough value that you want to connect with us and other people and you can systematize trust. And at the same time, you can systematize that lack of trust because we have everyone who doesn't act good. How many founders listening have had somebody promise that somebody will invest and then they ghost you? Right? But what if that person who ghosts 40 startups and then funds number 41 and they look good? They wasted 40 people's time. They lied to them. They misled them. I'd love that investor never to talk to me or you again either. So you can systematize action by looking at who blocked somebody, who took the call, who I would say you should interview next, and who I would say don't interview Tom. I can't say why, but he's not somebody I'd leave my kids with.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean the concept that, like I think about a professional network, which, most people I think in the world view a professional network, the digital version of their professional network being LinkedIn these days, coupled with their emails and other things that they got in their network. If someone came to me and said, who should I talk to about XYZ? I think the human brain first has very limited capability to go through my 8, 9, 10,000 connections and think, well, are they even relevant right now because they might be in a different profession? Are they even open to it? Are they even in the same country that I thought they were in, let alone their name, right? And I think having something that allows you to find someone that has spent the right time in the right place at the right moment opens up a whole world that you don't even see. I mean, I almost look at it like, you open Netflix and you're wondering what to watch. I don't know, like all of it kind of seems a bit relevant, but where would I best be spent networking with? Who would I best be trusted to reach out? Because again, that limited time, I don't want to reach out to 40 people. I just want to reach out to that one. Anything that can reduce the time from desire to connection is going to be super valuable in my opinion.
I hope so. I've spent 7 years iterating this, whiteboarding this, trying to find the right co-founder who turned out to be my lead investor, my friend Brendan, who's based out of Kilkenny, Ireland. Okay. And in that, the whole theory, because I've run this as an analog version in my network for a decade now, right? Okay. How many people have you interviewed on your show? How many people have you built trust with that aren't relevant for you again because you interviewed them, but might not be relevant for me, but that might be relevant for my lead investor?
Yeah. Yeah.
How do you systematize that? So if we build trust, I build trust with him, and then you start to see that some of the people you'd like to meet on this planet are just his co-investors and friends.
Yeah.
You don't have the time to comb through that. It has to come, or you make an ask, one of the hardest things for people to do. That's the challenge in this. But once you make an ask and you get a result, that's giving the mouse the cookie, because once you get more results from systematizing this, you get better outcomes with more time. Who do you then spend more time with to build more relationships to add to your ecosystem? Ideally at scale, this is a way to not replace social media, not replace LinkedIn, any of these things. It's a way to augment you for how you interact with all the other people virtually or in person.
I mean, it talks to a good example I can hear of a lot, because we meet with a lot of founders, and often their first port of call when they're looking for either their first customers, or they've just done some founder-led sales. Now they're on to the next bit. They're asking their VCs, investors for help, and they offer help. And the help is like, well, who are you looking for? And well, we're looking for, oh yeah, I've got someone on my network. And then, well, I'll connect you, right? Half the time, they never connect you. They just don't. They're too busy, or they just don't prioritize it. And the poor founders there sat there waiting. Secondly, they connect with zero context. And it's just, I know someone, and they just glue them together like that with no context, with no shared trust or built trust over time. And I feel like a warm intro is far better than a cold connection, and often results in a sale, and often results, or a high probability 100%. Of sale for a founder, right?
A warm intro with permission to take the call.
Yeah.
And the context as to why shortens what would be a sales cycle, an investment cycle, or somebody saying, hey, this is not for me. I'm not investing right now, or I don't know that person at Nike, but let me send this thing over to Chuck.
Yeah.
And once you build the data set that gives permission, tracks the chain, but has the ask with all the parameters you need there, you were shortchanging that, but building what I call a chain of connections.
Yeah.
That then can be traced back, because the other thing we built was the thing you can't buy on this planet, which is a reputation score.
Yeah.
And if you want to introduce somebody, not, hey, here's my LinkedIn friend, here's my this. If you say, hey, please meet Ben. He has helped over 77 people I know since I met him. Everyone will take that call.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even without context, because it's saying, here's the value that's been quantified he's given to people without an ask in return. If you can systematize supporting givers in a greater way, it creates a culture of generosity and gratitude, which everyone writes about, everyone talks about, but we can't quantify. Because going back to this original problem, when you started asking me this, relationship value isn't valued. So therefore, when you're a founder trying to achieve something, you're not sure what taking time with somebody is worth, and you run out of time.
Yeah.
You're not sure the outcome of that's going to result in something, but if you're clear on your ask for what intros are relevant now, but you've also demonstrated and built trust, you get a different filtered perspective.
Mm.
I'm an anomaly in this, but I raised my friends and friends round because I have no family that could commit. But I raised it in 7 weeks last year when venture's been dead in New York, which is one of the hardest markets.
Yeah.
But I went to a bunch of people. A lot of people told me no. A few ghosted me, and I remember that. But most of the ones who said yes, like the 18 who came in, it wasn't a long sales lead because I already demonstrated value and my why. It wasn't surprise I built a company. They were ready for it without me asking them. So many of them also came to me. They said, we're in.
Right.
Can you do 10K? Can you do 25K? And of course, the answer early on is for everything. Yes. But once you get 10, house a cookie thing, then somebody gives 25. Once you have that, somebody comes in for more. Somebody hears that their friend's in, now they're in. It's entirely social more than it is, I read your deck, I analyzed what you had.
Yeah.
Even when you get to a data room thing, it's who else is in the data room.
Yeah.
Who led your round. It's only relationship driven. Therefore, the power of the ask combined with the power of building trust first can help every founder. It is a longer game, but if you're in this to build a company and exit in 3 months, that doesn't exist. If you're in it to solve a problem, it takes several years. So it takes several years to build the relationships as well.
And those relationships that the founders are looking for, if they're raising money or they're investing, clearly have a compounding effect with the network effect of you talking to one person who's very well connected and has that shared connection, because you get this, not FOMO, but like a thing like, hey, what's going on, right? And that's the same with a product-led growth sort of a strategy for a tech startup where, someone who I really trust is using this new tool. Well, I'm kind of in for that too, because I trust him really well. And therefore, founders need to figure out where they're going to spend their time to get those network effects. And they have limited time. Like you said, like everyone has limited time. Founders especially have limited time. But where you talk about measuring kind of the relationship depth or whatever, which makes a lot of sense, because, I could spend 2 hours with one person, or I could spend, 15 minutes with 8 people. Right. It may well be that 2 hours is far, far, far more valuable than just the quantity of it. A lot of how many people have you met? How many leads have you got? Scoring it by quantity doesn't make a lot of sense in this space, in a relationship space.
And quantity versus quality, right? How do you get to the quality?
Yeah.
It's a very simple practice. So here's how I met the lead investor who helped me build my startup. I was at a conference in the Bahamas and talking about actually walking up to a bar and not being cool. Like I walked up to the guy who invited me there.
Yeah.
Man, he dissed the crap out of me. He made me feel like I wasn't worthy. I shouldn't have been there. I don't know what was wrong. He eventually got fired from this group, but he was not. And he invited me to fly to another place at my own expense to be part of this conference, of which I was bringing some family office friends of value.
Right.
And this amazing Irish guy walks up and he says, man, what happened? And I was like, dude, I don't know. Like, I feel like I just got broken up with, but there was no relationship. And we just start talking. Then he goes, I got a guy for you. He shows me who he is. He's like, I want to WhatsApp him and get him on a call with you. And I say, please don't. Let me send you who I am and what I'm after. And please ask permission of him. This double opt-in is the term.
Yeah.
Please ask permission if you take the time.
Yeah.
The fact I paused from an opportunity to a successful human known on this planet who also used to be a rock star touring with Guns N' Roses with his own band called the Funhouse. Like, the fact I asked for permission made him take an hour of his time, not half an hour. And then I asked him, again with curiosity, man, I asked him what he needed. And he told me, if I was in a fortunate place, I could help. Not everyone's going to be in that place, but again, I've done this for 15 years to get here with it.
Yeah.
And I helped him. And then he came back and he said, hey, I'd like to talk to you about your startup. Could we take the time? He asked me consent.
Yeah.
By July, having met him in January, 50% of my round was funded. We were starting to build. He's already launched 23 companies on this planet. He spent probably several hundred hours in non-equity earning, sweat equity, just for his belief in this, because I took the time to get to know him before I saw the opportunity. And he took the time to get to know me before I saw the same. This is a practice that gives you the insight of where to spend quality time versus quantity. And again, in the world of data research scraping, you build trust, somebody tells you what they need, you deliver the need. That is the shortest sales cycle on the planet. We just think we can't get there. because
Yeah.
we're hitting the fences, and out of every 100 people, 2 say they'll invest. I hit 100, but I had 28 invest.
Right.
Way more odds, but because
Yeah.
that first 100 was filtered in, to begin with.
Yeah. 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 Like helping out a founder who's perhaps not as confident, let's say, when they're in that environment, they're in that conference, like you mentioned. Often, a lot of tech founders end up at conferences, and I've been in those rooms, and I kind of look around the room. There's a lot of people, they just go and hang out with who they're familiar with, maybe because they're afraid of going and asking those questions, or they're kind of on their own, or they don't attend the networking events, which are arguably more valuable than the conference itself. What would you say to them about how to start thinking about what I should be getting out of that experience from a relationship point of view?
So, for all the meek on this planet who are the technical builders, the startup founders, those that weren't the high school quarterback as well, what's that high school quarterback doing now? Because when you look at the statistics, when you peak early, by nature, you peaked early. So you can't compare yourself to other people. And although there's a wide spectrum of extroversion to introversion, there's one practice, which is, again, I'm not saying like the Mandalorian, this is the way, but I do believe for myself, like it is. If you're that introvert walking into a room and you're shying away from the big group where somebody's taking over, good. That person sucks. The fact they're taking over instead of building any relationships or empathy or intimacy means they're just showboating.
Right.
They won the football game, but where are they now?
Yeah.
If you're looking at somebody who's standing by themselves, they're feeling the same as you, go up and tell them that. If you're seeing a whole bunch of people that you know, say hi, don't waste time. It's not why you came. And, when a friend spoke years ago at a keynote at a conference about why Mormonism and Chabad within Judaism are the greatest converting religions, it was because both of them start with a question. Mormon is, would you pray with us? Chabad is, can we help you? And then they're delivered by an action, which is, we will pray for you even if you don't believe in what we believe in. For Chabad, it's they helped you. By being curious without an expectation in return, at the time it was a 1 in 7 or a 1 in 9 conversion rate, better than any other religion.
Yeah.
So if you're going to a conference, again, I'm not a religious person, spiritual, depending on the day.
Sure.
But I view this the exact same way. You have an opportunity, and if you don't maximize it, you may have wasted it and never know. If that doesn't scare you, then think about the fact, in my estimation on the data, you have maybe 4 or 5 of those opportunities ever. So when you miss one, the others could be years in coming, or you could have missed your last one. And you cannot hack this. You cannot figure it out. I cannot figure out that going to that conference and getting dissed by somebody would result in an introduction that would change my life as a startup founder. I couldn't have orchestrated it. No. So most practical, you go in that room. The thing that's really hard to do, ask a question about somebody else and offer, within reason, a vulnerability.
Yep.
I just lost my client. My father's sick. I'm really scared about how to deal with the runway in this market. Everyone tells me it's now 23 months to close something. How could anyone raise enough to survive that long? Where are you in this world with it?
Yeah.
Don't talk about yourself. Give context in a question of clarity for another. The minute you feel heard, that room seems so much smaller. The person with that bravado might actually be a great person. Some of those people are my friends. I'm often that person. Sure. But I'm that person in the context of people who I've built trust with, and I'll welcome you in. But I'll welcome you in more if you meet somebody who knows me and says, hey, you should talk with David. I value you now. You heard me. It's a simple hack. The data is appalling. Out of every 10 people you meet, it's from a book on curiosity my co-author and I looked into and talked with the professor. Out of every 10 people you meet, only 3 present curiosity back. Out of 10 people you meet, 7 people are going to talk about themselves and be an ass. Yeah. And 3 people are going to go, Ben, like, what's next for you? What's the rest of your day look like? How are you feeling? How are your parents doing? What if we inverted that? Just think about how much more opportunity is sitting in front of us.
That's wonderful. David, that's a great place to finish, I think, and great practical advice for our tech founders who are, I think relationships, the way you talk about relationships and orchestration is super fascinating. I've thoroughly enjoyed the last 30 minutes. It's certainly given me pause for thought on how to approach my my relationship network and how to think about it. I love the double opt-in and the way you described that. I think that's super relevant for a lot of people who are looking for connections and perhaps to take a pause for thought and not just sprint into connecting for connecting's sake. Yeah, super valuable, David. Thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate you coming on. Yeah. Good luck with everything. Good luck with the startup, and we'll be following along and hope to connect again soon. I mean,
appreciate it very much.
Cheers. Take care, David. Bye-bye.